boy Concert Viz 34. The photos you just saw were from a cool day in my life last summer of 2016, where I went to Yankee Stadium by day to catch my beloved Yankees, which lost that day, and then went down to Citi Field that night to see Dead & Company perform night 2 of their 2-night stand in Queens, New York. So, today's topic is going to be talking about the pros and cons of concerts at ballparks. I'm a big baseball fan. I love the Yankees. I go to Fenway every year to see the Yankees, as well as go and catch them at Yankee Stadium, as you saw in the photos. So I love seeing baseball at the ballpark, and I was intrigued last year to go check out an actual show at a ballpark, which is a growing trend. About 15 years ago, you started seeing bands making more appearances at your local MLB ballpark. Especially Fenway Park kind of blazed the way on that, bringing it back. And then Wrigley Field added some shows and some artists, as well as some of the newer venues, Yankee Stadium, Citi Field, Comerica Park, to name a few, had some bands and artists perform there while the home team was on a road trip. You also have a big announcement that happened at the beginning of this year where a bunch of classic rock bands and even some funk and soul added at the bottom of the lineups combined to make an event that will be coming to 2 nights in New York City and 2 nights in Los Angeles, which is called the Classic. Some of the main acts are the Eagles, Fleetwood Mac, and Steely Dan, amongst others. And they're having it in a ballpark versus what's been growing as far as festivals with some classic rock acts and more of arena tours with classic rock acts, or football stadium tours with some classic rock acts. So we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of seeing a show at your local ballpark. I'm going to give some of my personal opinions and also add on some commentary I've heard from different forums and conversations with people I know that have been to some shows at their local ballpark as well. So there are some pros, although I think the cons, they'll be pretty deep. But one of the pros is that you have such a historic place as a ballpark like Fenway Park or Wrigley Field, and then you have your favorite band or your favorite artist performing there. It's a great mix of two things that can be important in some people's lives that love baseball and they love their live music. And to me, even though I'm a Yankees fan, it was cool to go down to Citi Field, which I love more than Yankee Stadium. Don't tell any Yankees fans. But it was cool to be down there and see them perform right at a ballpark, which is really cool and an amazing venue. And I know people that have gone to Fenway and felt the same way about going to Fenway. They're Red Sox fans and seeing a band they like, an artist they like perform there. Other thing that's great, cheaper tickets. Supply and demand is a huge thing. And what you'll find is if you go to see a Billy Joel in a Madison Square Garden or in a Sunrise, Florida, where it's a smaller venue, the prices are going to be higher just because it's a smaller venue and there's not as many seats. But if you go to a Billy Joel show at Comerica Park or Fenway Park, and he's done Citizens Bank Park as well and Petco Park in San Diego, the get-in price, just to be in the presence of Billy Joel, and even if you're high up to hear his amazing show, is going to be cheaper because there's more seats. So if you buy it on the primary, you're going to find some tickets that are a little bit more cheaper in the upper deck. You can bring the whole family for a lower price. And if you play the secondary market game, which I did for Dead & Company, and the prices went down, you can sometimes find in select cities or select shows, like the Sunday show I went to for Dead & Company, where you can get a ticket for cheaper just because this person can't get rid of all these tickets they bought on the on sale, thinking they were going to make a killing. But hey, there's so many seats and the demand isn't as high, so hey, you get a good deal. Other great thing is the availability of a ballpark when the home team goes on the road allows for more artists to come to your city. One of the toughest things for artists is there's a lot of people trying to book a Madison Square Garden, book a House of Blues in any city, Boston, Houston, etc. There's also people that are trying to book the local amphitheater. especially with country being big now, and it used to be more of a rock feel in those amphitheaters. But there's a very competitive market, even if you are a big act, to get and book a venue, especially if your tour starts a little later, or you start to book shows later than people that have set dates every year. So when you have a ballpark that's open when the home team's on the road, there's a better chance that your favorite act can actually hit your city on a tour, or they can hit your city even 2 nights versus 1 night. When you have one arena show in New York City, it's hard to get tickets. When there's 2 nights of Dead & Company at Citi Field, easier to get tickets. This isn't always the case. I'll put an asterisk there. Dead & Company for Fenway Park in Boston, Massachusetts, it was a very hard game, and I ended up just not buying tickets there because of the higher prices. That to me was mostly due to the fact there were a lot of different shows in the New York market, in Saratoga Springs and Jersey as well. So Dead & Company Citi Field had lower demand, but in a Fenway, which is more isolated from the other Dead & Company stops, it was harder to get tickets because everyone in New England was trying to go to those shows. So it does vary, but the majority of the time, you're going to see that the face value get-in tickets for secondary, and even some of the primaries, Ticketmaster will have some rafter seats or obstructive view seats where you're kind of at the side of the stage, but you can get it for a cheaper price than if you're at the side of an arena or at the top of an arena. That's really the pros end. Okay, the cons, there's a lot of them, and I'm just going to go through some of them that impacted me and have impacted other people. One of the biggest things is the distance from the stage. Most of the stages are in center field. Baseball teams do not want anyone sitting in the diamond, which is home plate through the bases where the dirt is. That means that whole area of the venue has to be roped off, cut off. You can't have seats there. So if you're not in the front kind of, or the outfield field seats, which can be costly, depending on what show you're going to, you're pretty much miles from the stage, metaphorically. And that can impact how you feel during a show. That doesn't mean that everyone's going to be impacted. Some people can be very far from the stage and still have a good time and get down. But for people like me that want to feel the presence of the band and want to be close as possible and want to hear the sound flow back like an amphitheater gives you, you're not going to always get that at these ballparks. Everyone is different. Citi Field is different from Fenway, which has poles and different challenges that make that even worse than Citi Field, which is a little more symmetrical, and those seats in the actual kind of behind the grass in the actual kind of stadium are a little more, they have better sight lines. But it is something that can impact your concert experience. The other thing, as far as the way it's set up, is I've heard reports of the sound being terrible in certain sections. Now, again, it depends on the type of fan you are. Fans that really love high quality audio, they love going to a show even on the lawn, but the lawn sometimes in these amphitheaters has great sound. They do complain on forums and various things like that about the sound at a ballpark. I walked around the ballpark when I went to Dead & Company during set 2, and I could kind of understand it. I was at the soundboard, so I was very blessed to get seats at a good deal last minute for that Sunday Dead & Company show. So my sound was great. I was right at the soundboard, dead center, looking at the stage, and that was probably one of the most ideal seats to have at the venue. But other people, if you're not there and if the prices are too high there for your liking, then you're going to be stuck in a spot where you could be far and you could have a bad sound experience. The other thing that's frustrating about these shows is getting in and out of the field seats. It is a huge pain that I experience and other people have complained about. The reason being is the diamond behind home plate, first, second, third, that area in the dirt, you cannot walk there. That means you can't walk backwards to get back to the main part of the concourse where the actual baseball seats are. So usually you have to go from either left field or right field because the stage is in center field. So it can be a huge pain trying to navigate your way out of the field seats because usually there's one way in and one way out, and you have thousands of people that have field or pit seats. Very frustrating to get a beer, to go to the bathroom, to get a poster, to get a t-shirt when I was at Dead & Company for the Citi Field show. It's not the venue's fault. They're providing more seats up at the front. The security was amazing. Guest service is amazing, but there's only a tight area that you can get traffic in and out of a field. Same thing with the actual ballpark. Again, there's twice as many people as an arena, so there's going to be tons more people flowing in and out of the venue. And let's be honest, most baseball parks are expecting 50% capacity. They may sell 75% of the tickets, but 50% of the people are going to show up on an average day, so they're not ready to handle a sellout if the venue sells out all its tickets for a concert, and then you have the field as well. So it can be very frustrating, and it's something that affected me personally and affects others. So the cons to me make it so overall, my verdict on concerts at ballparks is I try to avoid them at all costs, just because of the frustrations and the lack of symmetry for how your experience is going to be. There's very limited seats that are very, very good, and even the field seats that I had at the soundboard, there's still stuff you wish you were a little bit closer. Where if you go to an arena, where if you go to an amphitheater, sure, you pay a little more. Sure, it's less seats. Sure, it's frustrating because Ticketmaster sells out right at the on sale for an amphitheater. But at the same time, if you pay the money to get those good seats or upgrade to VIP, you're going to be right by the stage. You're going to be right on top of the artist. And even the worst seat in some of the mid-tier 15,000 seat arenas in some of the smaller markets, like a Sprint Center in Kansas City or Mohegan Sun here in Connecticut, you're going to feel, even if you're in the last row, that, hey, this is still a very tight venue. It's pretty cool. Like, yeah, I got a cheap seat, but I'm on top literally of the stage. So I prefer amphitheaters over anything. And then I'll take a look at an arena. And sometimes, depending on the prices, a small intimate theater for really good acts playing there, and I can find a good price, I also prefer that over going to a ballpark. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys like going to baseball stadiums to see your favorite artists? Have you ever done it? Are you considered doing it? Leave your comments below. Definitely like and subscribe. Otherwise, I'm out.